it's now my pleasure to introduce our first speakers of today. We have Sreelalitha Rupanagudi ji, who's an engineer by profession and training, who has been a student of Sanskrit for more than 2 decades. After basic training in school and college, she has been fortunate to be associated with Samskrita Bharati during her formative years as a student and later as a volunteer. She has been part of Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh's study circle for over a decade and a half, and Padyapana since its inception. A published author of literary reviews, she enjoys writing stories in Kannada and composing thematic kavyas in Sanskrit. She has donned the role of a prachaka in avadhanas in various departments like Tattapadi, Kavyavachana, and Ashukavita. She pursues Karnataka music under the tutelage of Vidushi Dr. T.S. Satyavati, works for ARM. Presenting along with her is Shri Raghavendra Hebbalalu, an engineer by training and profession. He's a lifelong student of Sanskrit, has been associated with Samskrita Bharati as a student and a Karyakarta, having conducted Sambhashana Shibirams in the USA and India. He has a master's in Sanskrit from Karnataka Samskrita University, Bengaluru. He evinces a keen interest in Bharatiya and Western philosophy. He has been fortunate to be part of Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh's study circle on Kavya and Alankara Shastra. Associated with Padyapana as an on and off contributor, he enjoys composing verses about modern themes in classical meters in Sanskrit and Kannada, posting frequently on Twitter. He has participated in several avadhanas as a prachaka across categories. He is currently translating D.V. Gundappa's magnum opus Manku Thimmana Kagga from Kannada to Sanskrit. He and his wife Sreelalitha have translated another great work of DVG, Jivana Dharma Yoga, from Kannada to English. He has blogged in the past and is set on starting again. He works for McAfee. Their presentation today is titled The Rhythm of Chandas, a Practical Demonstration.
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha, Om Tat Sat. We will start off with a couple of verses to indicate the beginning of the session here. Kutova Nutanam Vastu Vayamut Prekhitum Kshamaha Vacho Vinyasa Vichitriyam Astiveti Vicharyata. Just modified Jayanta Bhatta's verse here. This is nothing new that we are stating. We just need to check if it is the way in which we are saying it is interesting. Na khyati-labha pujartham upanyasam oyamuchyate swabodha parishuddhyartham chandovit padapankaja. It's a modification of Sri Sureshwaracharya's introductory verse in the Nashkarmya Siddhi. It is not for fame or profit that we are giving this lecture. It's just to clarify our own understanding at the feet, lotus feet of those who know Chandas. And a small verse of gratitude to our teacher, Shatavadhani Dr. R. Ganesh. Namaschando vide tasmai Ganesh aryaya dhimate gurukalpaya usmakam balanam laghu chetasa. And acknowledgements to INDICA and the Center of Bharatiya Languages, and to Shri Megha Kalyan Sundaram and Shri Arvind Iyer for curating such an interesting session on Chandas and for including us as well. And let's get started.
This is going to be the overview of our talk today. We'll briefly introduce Chandas and quickly move on to Satana Chandas, and then talk about, demonstrate the Vitana Chandas, and then conclude the talk.
Chandas, the word itself, has various meanings if you look up Apte. In addition to being the addition to the Vedas, the meter, metrical science of prosody, it also means several other things. But what we are looking at mainly is, look at the 3 meanings on the right: the Chad Apavarane, Samvarane, and Urjane. It is, something that compensates for emptiness in poetic expression or to cover poetic deficiency, and also to energize. We will see all aspects of it as we cover our presentation. For all practical purposes, you can call it a fixed arrangement of laghus and gurus. And obviously, as Sri Arvinda brought out earlier, it's an inseparable part of classical poetry.
Now, why is Chandas required? We'll briefly look at some points that might be important here. First of all, Chandas enhances poetic beauty. Each Chandas might come with its own innate emotion, and it can buttress the emotion that the poet wants to convey. And secondly, the rhyme can also, the prasa can be used in conjunction with Chandas and give a very good Shruti Saukhya, which is not possible in Gadya. For instance, you can think of the way Muthuswami Dikshitar brings out he makes the prasa akshara the same as the anuprasa that he uses, especially in the Madhyamakala Sahitya, which brings out a lot of beauty in the Madhyamakala Sahitya. In addition, the beauty of the language can be leveraged by versification. As Sri Sediapu Krishna Bhatta says, only those chandases which are natural to a language live and thrive. So it is only natural that the beauty of the language can be leveraged by using chandas. And there is a minimum guarantee with versification, even if there is very little alankara and very little poetic brilliance, a verse in proper chandas will give a minimum guarantee of beauty. And as DVG says, Kavana Nenapige Sulabha. Its verses are easy to remember. If you think about it, this is how the Vedas were transmitted over millennia through the vehicles of Anushtup, Drishtup, Jagati, Gayatri, among various other chandases. And constraints inspire creativity. When there is a constraint like chandas imposed on the writing, we think of new ways to express the same idea. So there are more creative expressions. And however, we still rely on the language for poetic beauty. There is no substitute for the Kavi's pratibha. So here in this talk, we are going to focus on the meters outside the Vaidika canon.
So we'll start off with a high-level classification of chandas. Satana and Vitana, what Chandamsi with innate musical tempo and Chandamsi without innate musical tempo form the Satana and Vitana. And in the Satana verse part, we have Matragati and Karshanagati. We will see what that is in the next part of it. And in the Vitana, also there are two parts, Vritta and Aksharajati. Vritta is something with a fixed Guru and Lahu position. And Aksharajati, Jati is something that is Ekadesha Sthira, as you see on the definition on the right side. That is something, is an anonymous verse from Dandi's quoted in Kavya Darsha. Some part is fixed, whereas everything else is left free. That is something that is a jati, and it is to Sediapu's genius that came up with the definition for Akshara Jati. We will talk a little more about it later, but this is a wonderful classification of chandas, which it comes from Sediapu, and of course through tradition as well.
We'll next go over to the Satana Chandas. Satana Chandas, as the name itself suggests, follows a beat. If you think of Lavanis and other folk songs, they all have an innate tempo. All of them in say ganas of 3 and 4, like Trikala, Chatushkala, Panchakala, and so on. In the interest of time, I'll just present one Panchakala meter. It is a famous Ashtapadi by Jayadeva. Vadasi yadi kinchidapi dantaruchi kaumudi harati dharati miramati ghoram. You can see how the groups of 5 stands out. Actually, the ear can discern only ganas of 3, 4, and maximums 3, 4, 5 and maximum 7. Beyond that it becomes a repetition of 3, 4, 5 and 7 again. So which is why Trikala, Chatushkala, Panchakala, Saptakala are so common. Among them, groups of 4 matras are very popular, which is why all Arya meters have ganas of 4 matras. And since it's musical, it's a favorite for poets and musicians. And since there is no specific combination of laghus and gurus specified, it's suitable for narration as well, because it gives a lot of freedom for the poet. We now quickly go with the Karshana Chandas or Amsha Chandas, as B.M. Shri called it. This is a meter that is used in Kannada and Telugu. So it has 3 kinds of ganas, Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra ganas with 4, 6 and 8 matras respectively. They are called Kama, Rati and Bana in Sanskrita. Vishnu Gana has, Brahma Gana has 4 matras. 4 matras, which is Nana. It can't be Nana Nana, but it is only Nanana or Nana or similar to that. Similarly, Vishnu Gana can be Nanana, which is 6 matras. Now, it will be clear when we look at the Sangatya and Tripadi. The Sangatya verse that we've written down here is Kalava Nillashtu Polu Madade Karyashilanagiddondu Ghalige Kalannu Chachi Mai Marevagale Banda Meladhikariyu Balige. Now, if you look at the grouping here, some of them have 4 matras, some of them have 5 matras. How do we fit it into the Vishnu? The Lakshana of Sangatya says that it is Vishnu, 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 and Vishnu, Vishnu, Brahma, right? So, how do we fit it? It has to be sung. It cannot be read out. To demonstrate that, ಕಾಲವನೆಳ್ಳಷ್ಟು ಪೋಲು ಮಾಡದೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಶೀಲನಾಗಿದ್ದೊಂದು ಘಳಿಗೆ ಕಾಲನ್ನು ಚಾಚಿ ಮೈ ಮರೆವಾಗಲೇ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲಧಿಕಾರಿಯು ಬಳಿಗೆ. So if you see the kalava, which is only 4 matras, has the la and va both elongated and becomes 6 matras. That is how Sangatya has to be sung. And coming to Tripadi, as the name itself suggests, there are 3 lines, but the second line, the first part of the second line is sung twice, and the last word joins during the second repetition. So it gives the feel of a 4-line verse. Here again, Salava Kombaga Haloga Rumbante, Saliga Bandu Selevaga, Kibbadi Kilu Muridante Sarvagnya. This just reads like prose. However, the way we sing it, Salava Kumbaga Haloga Rumbante Saliga Bandu Selevaga Saliga Bandu Selevaga Kibbadi Kilu Muridante Sarvagnya. So, by the elongation of specific letters in the Sagatya and Tripadi, it becomes musical. There are other chandases also, like Sisapadya, Ataviladi, and Tetagiti, which are also Karshana chandas. And then we have Panchamatra, Chaupadi, and Panchamatra, Chaupadi, Bhavini, Shatpadi, and others are Matra chandas. Now we quickly go over the Arya family of chandas. It is the most prevalent after Anushtup and Upajati, and especially if you look at Kannada literature, about 50% of all metrical poetry is Kanda, which is Kandhaka of Arya. And since the Laghu and Guru positions are not really fixed, it's suitable for narration. In the Kathasarit Sagara, we have various instances where the protagonists of various stories go and propitiate Devis with Aryas. And for examples, we can see the brilliant Arya Shatakam, which is by far the most brilliant Aryas that I've ever seen. There are various variants of the Arya family of chandas. Arya Giti, and Udgiti, Upagiti. We'll not look at the last 2. in general, these three, we'll just look at these 3 meters. Arya, Giti and Arya Giti all have 12 matras in the first and third padas. And in the second and fourth padas, they have variously 15, 18, 15 or 20 matras. The third 4 matra group in the second and fourth padas should be, it can either be a Jagana, Nanana, or it can also be a Sarvalaghu. But it is mandatory that while Yati after the first Guru, first Laghu is appreciated, it is mandatory with when the this Gada is a Sarvalaghu. However, with this explanation given, is it possible to recite it or forget versify it? It's even difficult to recite this. It's even difficult to, thank you. It's even difficult to recite this verse. However, once we sing it, the Gati becomes very familiar to us, and it even becomes easy to versify. For example, in the interest of time, let me just go to the Giti verse here, which is the first verse of the Arya Shataka. Karana para chidrupa kanchi purasimni kama pithagata Kachana viharati karuna Kashmirastabaka komalangalata Karana para chidrupa kanchi purasimni kama pithagata Kachana viharati karuna Kashmirastabaka komalangalata. This is how my mother-in-law was taught by her grandmother. There is famous Omkara Panjara Shukim, the Shyamala Navaratna Malika Stotram. So this was the style in which she taught my mother-in-law how to sing this, and then suddenly realized that this is Arya indeed. If you see the Kanchi Pura Simni Kama, so Simni Kama is the Jagana, and you see a Yati also there. Then quickly going to the Arya Giti, it is famous as Skandhaka or Kandapadya in Kannada. This is the first verse of Keshi Raja's Shabdamani Darpana. This is how Ganesh sir always sings his Kandapadyas. Shri Vagdevige Shabdadinava Vindriyada Vishayamam Shrotradaludbhavipa Nirmala Murti Gilavandyage Shastra Mukhadola Vanatanappem. So here again we can see the at now Indriyada, at Indriyada we see the Yati. So that brings us to the end of the Satana Chandas. Without much ado, let's go to Vitana Chandas.
Thank you. So we just talked about the Vrittas and the Akshara Jati. We will get into Vrittas are those which are fixed in Laghu and Guru positions. And then Jati, as we just spoke earlier, are those where it is Ekadesha Sthira Jati. So fixed only in certain aspects. And we will start looking at one of each of these, and of course, if you could look at the Vrittaratnakara, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different Vrittas. But we are focusing on just a few and just show how the Vitana Chandas adds a lot of poeticism. And Vitana Chandas is a special feature of Sanskrit and other Bharatiya languages. So you cannot. It is not easy to do these in other languages as well. And of course, as Sreelalitha already pointed out, the meters and the languages kind of choose each other. Without further ado, let's get into Vasanta Tilaka. The Vasanta Tilaka is actually a very versatile meter. And before singing anything, it's actually, of course, the Lakshana of each of those is brought out in a lot of these details. But for practicing versifiers and to enjoy the prosodic beauty, you don't need to, always look at Ukta Vasanta Tilaka Tabhada Jagoga. Rather than that, na 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 na. By using these na 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 na, which are independent of poetic, beauty. For example, nana, you can just focus on the Chandas rhythm itself. And this specific meter has no yati other than at the end of a pada that can actually end with a laghu. And as you can see, it is actually a balance of both laghus and gurus and a balanced madhyagati itself. And because of this madhyagati, it is, you look at any language for like Sanskrit or Kannada, there it is not always laghus or always gurus that you get. It's actually a mix of both. And the balanced madhyagati brings out the natural idiom of such a language. And Vasanta Tilaka brings that out very beautifully. And of course, as Sri Arvind Iyer pointed out, it's what you call the Suprabhatam meter. And the usage of that Suprabhatam meter was, can be traced back all the way to this particular verse that Kalidasa brings in his waking of Aja. Actually, you can look at the verse itself. Ratrir gata matimatam varabhuncha shayyam dhatrad vidhaiva nudhur jagato vibhakta tame katastava vibharti gurur vinidrastasya bhavan aparadhurya padavalambi. You can actually sing. This actually gives a lot of energy. And that is the reason why you can see almost all the Pratasmarana stotras follow Vasanta Tilaka. And for some very good examples, in addition to the Pratasmarana stotras, you can read Appaya Dikshita's Varadarajastava, Nilakantha Dikshita's Anandasagarastava, and our own Dr. Shankar's Bharavatarastava for some really lovely examples to appreciate the beauty of Vasanta Tilaka. From Vasanta Tilaka, we will move on to the melancholy Mandakranta. The reason I've affixed the name is for people to remember that Mandakranta is a slow dragging out, as you can see that, right? It has strong yatis while Vasanta Tilaka did not have yatis. Mandakranta has strong yatis at 4 and 10 at the end of the pada, and you can see the 4 distinct regions: na 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 na. Na 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 na. You can see a guru heaviness in the beginning, na 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 na, and a dhruta in the middle, na 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 na. It actually goes a little faster, and a balance with the more gurus towards it, na 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 na. Then the overall effect, however, is one of a slow drawing out, and that is apt for Shanta, Karuna, and Vipralam Sringara. And of course, who else to express it than Kalidasa through his immortal Meghaduta. Kaschit Kanta Viraha Guruna Swadhikarat Pramattaha Shape Nastang Gamita Mahima Varsha Bhogyena Bhartuhu Yakhash Chakre Janakatanaya Snana Punyoda Keshu Snigdhachaya Turusha Vasatim Ramagirya Sarveshu. This is, you see how the whole, the 3 bhagas brings out the pathos so beautifully. And of course, in Sanskrit, all the chandams are derived from one another. So adding a laghu and a guru at the beginning of a Mandakranta can results in a meter called Megha Vispurjita, with the yati position shifting by 2. And this is also related to the Shalini family also. From melancholy Mandakranta, we move to what is called Peaky Shikharani. Shikhara itself is a peak, and Shikharani gives you the peak experience. So look at the way it starts, right? Nanana Shivas Shaktya Yukto Yadivavati Shakta Prabhavitum, which is the opening verse of the Saundarya Lahari. Shivas Shaktya Yukto. It takes off after the first laghu. Shivas Shaktya, the take off, and then it stays at the peak. Nana na 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 na. It stays there. That's probably why our seers use the name Shikharani for the meter. And of course, this because of the hard yati at the 6th position, and also possibilities at 12 and 13, you can have, it marks 3 kind of regions. It's a Vilamba at the beginning, Shivas Shaktya Yukto, then Yadibhavati Shakta, Yadibhavati is the Durtagati, Shakta Prabhavitum is a Lagurich Madhyamagati at the end. And like Mandakranta itself, it's apt for Karuna, Shanta, and Vipralamba Sringara. And it's seen less in narration because it is, in narration, you need more natural words, idiomatic words, not the sadhya words that poets coin. And this is one thing that you can see, observe in these meters. And that's why it's used more in stotras and of course in muktakas. For example, the one that you see here, Yada Kinchit Nyoham Dvipa Iva Madandhas Samabhavam Tada Sarvagnyosmi Tyaba Bhava Ravaripsam Mamamana Yada Kinchit Buddha Jana Sakasha Davagatam Tadha Murkosmi Tijvara Iva Mado Me Vyapakataha. And there are more beautiful examples in Saundarya Lahari and Ganga Lahari. From this, let us move to the sublime Shardula Vikridita. And this is the 19-syllabled play of the tiger. You can see why it's a play. it does not have hard, it does have yatis, but they're not hard as like in Mandakranta or in Shikharini. And it's a very guru heavy Madhyamagati. And it's versatile, beautifully versatile, and it can yield, use both, very highly compounded words, very high samasa bhushta words, as well as bit words. It gives you a natural idiom of Sanskrit. That's why it is very suitable for Muktaka's descriptions and Dhyana shlokas. Typically, most Dhyana shlokas, if you look at either Durga Saptashti or other parts, they feature Dhyana shlokas, Gita Dhyana shloka, also Yam Brahma, Varunendra, Ruddha, Marutastunvanti, Divestavi. All of those are featured in Shardula Vikridita. And of course, and the one verse that is shown here, I will not have the time to read through it, though you see that the first half of it shows small words, Chutchamopi, Charakrushopi, Apannopi, all of those in the first half, whereas the big samasa is brought in the third. Matte bhendra vibhinna kumbha vijita grasayika baddhaspraha. That is the one entire, the one samasa fits the pada. That is the beauty of Shardula Vikridita. And of course, for reasons of parasa, adiparasa, the first syllable has been split into two, yielding Matteva Vikridita. It's a very popular verse, actually, more than Shardula Vikridita. Matteva Vikridita is probably most popular. And for if you want to read more of these, look at the Bhartrhari's Shatakas. Those are brilliant examples of the Shardula Vikridita. From here, we will go into the Akshara Jatis, which is Upajati. Upajati is a mix of Upendra Vajra. There's a small typo here, but that's fine. Upendra Syadin na 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 Syadindra Vajra Yadito Jago Upendra Vajra Jatastato Go. So Upendra Indra Vajra starts with all laghus. Upendra Vajra starts with one laghu and starts with the guru. And because of the changes in the first four padas, you can actually have 16 possibilities, all four laghus with all four gurus, and in the middle, 14 possible combinations are possible. And there is a gurus across, but this guru-dominated Madhyamagati is the feature. Yati is felt after the first five. For example, Karpura Gauram, Karunavataram, Samsara Saram, but it's not mandatory. Not all follow it though. For example, you can see the first of the Astutasayam Dishidevatatma. It does not follow this particular rule here. And also, it is also possible to sing it, in a Khandagati. Though it's by elongation, it's possible to sing the same in Khandagati. By themselves, Upendra Vajra and Indra Vajra can become monotonous. But with Upajati, there's a lot of good mix, and the Upendra Vajra takes off, and the beautiful taking off is seen in the descent and ascent are marked in Kalidasa's famous verse itself. For example, Astyuttarasyam is like na na na, it kind of descends, na na na, it kind of Astyuttarasyam, it descends, whereas in the next line, because you want to show the Himalayas peaks, you can Himalayo Nama, it actually takes off that way, right? So you can see how creatively poets have used a mix of both Indra Vajra and Upendra Vajra in Upajati. And of course, I think we know that Upajati probably came before all of these and from the Vedic Tishtup itself. Read loudly, read Raghavendra, the second skandha, and Sarga or Kumar Sambhava first Sarga for some lovely Upajati verses, and also Vivek Chudamani. And from this,
fascinating, but 3 minutes, Raghavji.
3 minutes, yes. And we have the all-round Anushtup, which is probably the live link across the Vaidika Purana, Kavya Shastra, and probably the oldest active meter. It's again another Akshara Jati. The definition of this, though it's a very simple 8x4, it is difficult to capture the definition. The famous definition, Panchamam Laghu Sarvatra Saptavam Vijatuthayoho, fails in the same examples that we see in the beginning. Valmiki's first verse of the Ramayana, it does not fit this particular definition. Tapas Svadhyaya Niratam, it just breaks it there. Or Tadanvaya Shuddhimati, it breaks it there. So what is the rule really, right? So we'll go to the rule in the next slide, but there are other rules here which avoid 3 laghus at the beginning of all padas, and avoid the nanana, the laghu, the 2 laghus, and basically a third position laghu should be kind of avoided in even padas. It gives you a good gati for the anushtup. And let's and here Madhyamagati with mostly gurus, and there's a lot more freedom than with other meters, right? So because that is why it led to Kshemendra making this observation in the Suvritta Tilaka, because you saw all the different exceptions in Valmiki and Kalidasa. It is Shravyataya Pradhanata. So basically, this is gained more in Shravyataya through the listening of this. And actually, I would like to direct you to a beautiful series of articles by Shatabadhani and Dr. R. Ganesh that has come out on Preksha right now. And again, because of the limiting of the laghus or gurus, it can actually go up from 42 matras to maximum of 58 matras. Look at just an 8/4, you can actually change it so much, right? And you can sample the variety of gati. Okay, you can go from Rudra Prashna, Namaste Rudra Manyava Utoda Ishave Namaha, Namaste Astudhanvane Bahubhya Mutate Namaha. That is the Vaidika. That is, look at the gati in that versus something in the Aditya Hridaya, Tato Yuddha Parishrantam Samare Chintaya Sthitam Ravanan Jagrato Dashtva Yuddhaya Samupasthitam. Or all gurus in the beginning, in this one of my favorite verses of the Gita, Matras Parshastu Kunteya Chitoshta Sukadukadaha Agamapayano Nityastan Sikshasva Bharata, or Kalidasa himself, which again brings up a different one, Vaivaspato Manunama Mananiyo Manishanam Asin Mahikshita Madhya Pradavash Chandas. It is because of this non-boring kind of a thing that is Anushtup is used extensively across Puranas for descriptions and Shastras everywhere, which leads to Khemendra making this particular observation, and especially for Shastra, because Shastra is an important part of Samskrita Vangmaya. Shastram kuryat prayatnena prasannartham Anushtupa. So Shastra, if you want to do something, and you can see this across all of the important Shastras, Upadesha Haste, Naishkarmi Siddhi, they feature verses mainly from Anushtup. And also, Purana Pratibimbeshu, Pasannopaya Vartmasu, Upadesha Pradhaneshu, Kuryat, Sarvesh Anushtupham, Viduraniti, all of those are, they feature Anushtup highly. And with this, we're coming to an end. See, we know not all combinations of laghus and gurus are enjoyable. It is our great, predecessors who actually gone into the world of the language and brought these out beautifully. And Chandovidbhyo, Mahadbhyo Maha. And before we end it, we just like to show some references at the end. There is, of course, Sedyapu Chandas Samputa, and that's something Chandogati that Shashikiran will talk about. And Chandoviveka is another beautiful work that is going to be published. There's also a couple of articles here, and for those interested, we have lessons at Pandipana, these two works. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to go through this very fast tour from Chandas. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you so much for also finishing on dot. That's amazing.